Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equality, and so much more. We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders.
I am Larvetta Lofton, your host and the founder of the L3 Agency.
Known as the brand maven who transforms organizations with her storytelling prowess, meet Larvetta L. Lofton, host of Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. Guys, I told y'all this season was going to be hot. We are going to literally talk about businesses that are, I think in some regards, disruptors, businesses that are next level, because we've been talking about what's next. We know that, political administration is shifting. We know that climate change is real. We know these factors are occurring and that people are experiencing a lot of fatigue based on online. It's a lot of things that are happening in the world. And so entrepreneurs, strategic thinkers are really thinking through how and what is their business, right? What do they want to serve up? How do they want to serve it? Because we know that it's about solving problems and we want to make sure that we're solving the problem. And as you all know, we built this podcast because for a number of reasons, but one of it is the largest employers of Black people are Black business owners. And so we have to realize that as a unit, we are powerful. And so recognizing that, and so getting on and hearing these businesses, I mean, so many business owners, work with, whether it's a virtual assistant, an attorney, an HR professional. I'm not saying all. Many of them go for women of color. They go for a minority. They go for those reasons. So that's why it's important to support Black business, because they are supporting families. They are supporting wealth creation. They are supporting, I think, a transfer of wealth. Is a lot of things that are happening. And so I want you all to really think about this in 2025, that whether you go into a business, whether you buy into a service, that you recognize that there's an ecosystem, that they are literally wealth providers for the Black community, Black and brown. I mean, it is real. And so it's so real that I'm gonna give you an example. That it was I had just recently a general contractor, white guy, was totally fine. He wanted my business so bad. I think it was pretty dope because we believe that it's really about this idea of color. No, he wanted my business because he liked how I ran my business and was like, I want some of that. I want some of her network. I want to be able to collaborate with her. And so we don't recognize that there are people that want to do business with us, and not to shame them in no regard. But we can decide that this is I want to work with these individuals, and that's okay. You can work with all. But what we have to do is take color out the conversation, and decide that I want excellence. Right? I want service. I want collaboration. I want advocacy. I want impact. I think we have to take all of that out because this whole idea of multicultural audiences has been around. And I think if we say that marginalized, if we say that, I think we can really make a better impact, that it shouldn't be about color. We're talking about Black businesses matter because we recognize that conversation has not been said, right? So our next guest, I want to say, I do know her. Y'all know I love all my sisters. I just hang around with some dope sisters. I hang around with some brilliant business owners and visionaries, and I'm grateful that that is part of my network. Noelle which I love her because we've had the pleasure of working together and just seeing each other shine and just high five has just been a joy, and I love it. But her next business venture, I think, is a game changer. She's an experienced executive of business development with a demonstrated 3-decade history. So that's 30 years, y'all. 30 years. She don't look like she got 30 years, just for y'all know that. So when you see it, you're like, no, she don't. I don't believe it. She started at 12, and she did. Of working in the consumer goods, personal care service, real estate, tech, and educational industry. So she's definitely been around the gamut. Noelle has a deep experience in several areas, including leadership, negotiation, budgeting, operations management, inventory control, and process improvement. And she is the founder of this and CEO of Bisi Blvd. And I'm incorporated. So Boulevard is B. So I want to say this, BLVD, which is Boulevard, y'all. So I just want y'all to make sure I have Bisi, BISI, Boulevard, BLVD. So we're going to be talking about that. Welcome to the show, Noelle.
Thank you for having me. I know, right? I'm so excited.
She's got her brand on, y'all. She looks really, really cute because she's a marketing person too. So I said that. She didn't really say that, but she is also a marketing person. So image. I love when I have another marketing person that understands that acumen so well that they show up with their business in that way, and it's beautiful, and it's emotional, because I do think that there's an emotional part to business that we don't talk about. We'll talk a little bit about that. But before we get into who you are today, who was Noelle as a little girl?
Ooh, Noelle was a dreamer. I still am.
I love it.
Very much so. Yeah, I always knew I was destined for something bigger and better. I was born, you know how they say, oh, in the mud, but literally, I lived in a trailer park right on the corner of literally like a little, like a little ditch.
Wow.
Me and my brother and sister used to play in the ditch. We got stuck in the mud, literally from the mud. Yeah.
Wow.
Very poor, dirt poor.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Was that outside of Chicago?
It was. I was born in Oklahoma.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not from Chicago.
Wow.
Been here for long enough that I consider it home. But but I was a dreamer. I knew even then, this cannot be the way my life is supposed to end. You know what I mean? Like, it was fun. It was in the country. Like, we did, we played by the creek. We ate honeysuckles off the bushes and, got to run around very free. But we were born literally, I was born next to like the oil fields of Oklahoma. So you could see the oil horses pumping the oil out of the ground. Very rich environment, right? But was not a part of it. So literally like right across the street, you see these multi-million-dollar oil fields. But then back to the trailer park you go, Yeah.
So was it a real trailer park?
Yes, a real trailer park.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Slab and wheels and
So did you all move around, or did you all post up for a while and then move someplace else? I've always wanted to know that.
I know. Yeah. No, we did. I did move around.
Okay.
Even in that space and in that town, I was a trailer park, and then we had a single family home, and then we moved out of that state. But very much still poor. Yeah. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. I mean, and it wasn't, it's life. My parents were part of the, how can we say, the drug epidemic in a way that, had an impact on our life. Not in that they weren't users.
Okay.
I'll leave it there and let you infer what you must,
I got it.
But it certainly impacted, the other end of, right?
Got it.
You have prison involved in that, and you have the impact of that on a family structure and being able to participate in a workforce, which leads you to entrepreneurship. So,
and that's so you saw entrepreneurship, whether it was legal or illegal, right?
Had no choice. It was life.
Wow.
Yeah, I say often, I feel like I was a prisoner of entrepreneurship because it was, when you have parents that come out of the penitentiary system, right? You have been removed from typical workforce. And so what's the sustainability of your household? And for our family, it was entrepreneurship and a 9 to 5. So it was very much my parents were together, but one had to work a real job. And I say real job, air quote. One was able to secure a W-2.
Got it.
The other was not.
Got it.
And so the one that was not had that entrepreneurial, you know, gusto.
Wow.
And I got to see it up close and personal. Yes, starting at a very early age. Wow. So while others were trying to figure out like, oh, where am I going to play this weekend or whatever, it was like, oh, no, how are we going to eat? And I get to contribute to that in an amazing way.
In an amazing way. And did that drive you straight into entrepreneurship without like no questions? Like
no
this
question. Yeah, because it
no
was
doubt.
None. I mean, I got to see it from both perspectives, right? The struggle of not having a definitive check come in, right? You don't make a sale, you don't eat. But then also having one parent that was still holding down the 9 to 5. So there was a continual paycheck coming into the home. So I like to say I'm a hybrid of that. So I can go without eating for a little bit and be okay. But I also know I have children and family, and that's not realistic. It's not the safest way to raise a family, if you will, from a mental perspective, from just an emotional perspective. There's a lot of insecurity and, you know, are we going to have a roof over our head? And are we going to have a meal? I even told my husband, it dawned on me a few years ago, like, he would turn off all of the lights in the house when we would leave, and I would always leave one on. And it used to piss him off so bad. He's like, would you just turn the lights off? I was like, no, I need to know we have electricity when I step in the house. So I will always keep a light on. I know it took years to get to that revelation, but it was because of how I grew up, where we had the lights turned off regularly. You know, so it's
that's a deep.
It's just that I know.
And you don't
self-discovery.
I mean, but I think that's where I think this season is really discovering the things that really is not serving us. And I think that when you say that, I think when you said it, I was like, wow, that's deep, because you literally don't realize that when you said it, I could understand. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, I could get that, you know? And I could tell you, a similar story. It's actually, I'm just laughing because I used to be triggered, coming home, that every time I would come home and see my car, like if I was in someone else's car, I would be like, oh my gosh, because my car was repoed. And so the idea of seeing my car was like, oh my gosh, nobody took my car. And it literally we rolled up and I watched them take it.
I have repo. Mine was repo just because I didn't feel like putting it in the garage.
Are you serious?
I'm so serious. And my husband was like, now this is before we were married. This is when we were dating. So no, my husband is we keep the bills paid now. But in my single days, I was like, I just didn't feel like putting the car in the garage. I knew I was late on the payment. And I love that car. It was a Saturn. Saturn's a great car.
Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, I worked on a marketing campaign for Saturn. For Clark.
They were amazing cars.
They were.
But sure enough, I just was like, I'm in a rush. I'll move it. I never went back to moving, and I came back and I was like, my car is gone. And at the time, he was like, well, where did you park it? I was like, no, I parked it right here. And this was a moment of truth for even him and I, because he didn't realize where I was on that bill with that car note. And I was like, I think it got repossessed. You know, I was very, very proud at the time. But I was like, I believe that got repossessed. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I was late on the payments. Several months late, but I figured it would have changed, but it didn't, and they repoed it, and I went and cleaned it out and was like, oh, well, I'll get another car eventually.
I know.
You know?
But it's triggering, right?
It's very triggering.
It's very triggering to watch. And when that happened, much like you, I would, kind of play catch up and did. And one of the things that I think is, so what I want to say is trauma for me, which is probably why I don't like, I'm not a big car person. And I don't like car notes. So I'm not a big car person and I don't like car notes. But I think when you said that, I think it's because my car was I got it back, but that was such a triggering moment that I was like, I never want to be held to a car note that I could feel that sense of like, did I pay it? Oh my gosh, they're taking it. And I watched them. Like, it was just like that. So thank you for bringing that. And that is what happens. So everyone, that's what happens in business.
It is.
You sometimes have to sacrifice paying the car note to cover other expenses to build on it. So I think that is important. So Noelle, knowing that you were exposed to entrepreneurship, you were a prisoner to it, in some ways, good and bad, right? And so knowing that today, so fast forward, I'm curious to know, how many businesses have you had in your career?
Let's see. The very first one was in high school. I had babysitting, inspired by the babysitting club. Me too. Right? Babysitting club books.
Baby, I was the number one babysitter in my building.
Yes.
You couldn't tell me nothing.
In the neighborhood, it helped pay for my high school tuition. Yeah. So that was the first one. And then over into college, I had a personal shopping, a personal assistance company. And then I had a clothing line. And then I had my day spa, and now I have my tech. So this makes 5.
Yeah. See, they said they said, I don't know how true and who people. They is, but they make up these stats. In business my business banker at the time years ago said that the average business opens up between 7 to 10 businesses over the course of their career.
I could see that.
I could too, right?
Every time I touch something, I'm always like, ooh, how can I monetize this? How can I convert it?
Yeah.
And then as the years go, right, you're very strategic on the opportunity that you actually want to put your energy into. Yeah. But I can totally see that.
I said the same thing, Noelle. So let's talk about your tech company.
Yes.
I want to talk about it. And one of the things that I do want to talk about is, what do you see as we move into this evolution of entrepreneurship? How should we see tech today? Before we talk about how you have built a platform that really has been a disruptor in the beauty industry.
Well, thank you. I feel like as you look at entrepreneurship in general, you have to look at the world as a whole, not just your little piece of the pie, but how is it impacting and reverberating throughout. And even for us to open Bisi Blvd, it was an evolution of being in the beauty space. So you're either, I personally believe you're either growing or you're stagnant or you're dying in business. Yeah. I mean, life, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah. But when it comes to entrepreneurship and evolving, right, you're not going to be the same person today that you are 5 years from now, nor were you 5 years ago. So how are you growing? How are you adapting? How are you continuing to grow with the environment and the economy, but still have impact that's relevant? It's a delicate balance, but it's important, and you can't avoid it. And technology has always been with us, and it will always be with us, and it'll continue to get better. Yeah. It'll continue to have multiple uses, right? It's just a matter of how do you integrate it in a healthy way into what you're doing. And that's how I always look at it. Like, how can I realistically, affordably, and respectfully of the project integrate technology? Because it is a very useful tool. It's a tool.
It is.
And if you don't know how to use it, you will get left behind very quickly.
I agree.
And can you catch up? It's not even about catch up. It's like, oh, you missed that entry. You got to join in now at this point. And so it might be a steeper learning curve, but you can't avoid it.
I think you can't avoid it. I think we have to embrace technology. And I love that there are tech disruptors in that space. So tell me about, because I'm calling you a beauty disruptor.
Oh, well, thank you.
In the beauty, let me say this, in making beauty companies to be able to have some stake beyond just being the stylist, right? Yeah. Like, understanding that, right, if they don't get up, go to work, use their hands, they don't make money. But I don't know that they've ever seen what they make. Yeah. And so that's what you get for them to see, that you actually are making some money today. So if you don't go to work today, what does that look like, and how will that impact your life? And it's funny, Noelle, I was saying, I remember as a little, my mom, we used to go get our hair done every 2 weeks, right? I think I asked my mom, like, well, what happens when she gets sick? And she was like, I mean, we just have to reschedule. And then my mother, and then I was like, I think I asked her, I said, well, Mom, but she won't have any money. Like, how is she going to pay her bills?
Yeah.
And she said, you have a very good point. Like, you're right. So that's why she has to probably, Mom, she was like, she has to stay well and make sure that she's
right. She got to take care of herself.
She got to take care of herself so that she can take care of us because she's taking care of us.
Right.
So once she built her business in her house at the time. And so my mom was like, well, the good side is you see how she used her kids to work in the business. So they would open the door and help us in or, get the towels. And so, because I was kind of like,
family business.
And in my mind, I'm like, what will happen to her if she hurt her hand? I'm just this curious kid, like, oh my gosh. But so let's talk about Bisi Blvd.
Yeah.
This, tell me about what it is.
So it's funny you mentioned like how do they account for their dollars? So I'm gonna say our software at the heart of it is industry agnostic. We just so happened to launch in the beauty space because that's where I was the last 10 years. Prior to that, I had agricultural experience and just a litany of other things. But what I realized in my day spa, one, I never set out to be behind the chair permanently, right? I was like, ooh, I want a spa. I want it to be passive income. I'm going to have these amazing staff and all this. And then you go to start hiring people and that doesn't work. We started building out the location. Costs surpassed the budget. And so for us, when I decided to start Bisi Blvd, it was actually because of the pandemic. Our salon at that point, we had hit year 10 in our day spa, and I had gone through several softwares that we had used to operate or whatever. But when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh my gosh, I watched my company literally go from like 6 to 7 months. We usually stay booked out 7 months in advance. And watching all of those appointments cancel like within an hour to 2 hours of each other. It was just like, you can't stop it, right? It's like this hemorrhaging that you cannot stop. And so, but I took that time. You know how you always say, oh, if I had the time to really focus and stop and do this, I would do ABC. Well, that was my moment. When the pandemic hit, I had always been saying, well, I want to be able to take the time to really focus on getting this idea out of my head. But then it really allowed for the hyper focus, like literally undistracted focus on how am I going to get all the coaching and consulting that I had been doing of other salon owners and private service providers. How can I now make this into a system that I can package and sell and replicate and, let it kind of go out without just having to be dependent on me. So that's how we got started, was having the time. And yes, I do like to think that we're disrupting how service providers approach their company, because the truth of the matter is when you graduate a beauty program, you are taught how to do a skill.
Yep.
Right?
And that's hair or whatever.
Nails, skin, right? Like you're taught the science behind it and how to achieve a service, but you're not taught how to run a company and actually be successful with that skill, which is what the majority of people go to school for, right?
Correct.
I went to learn how to be an esthetician so that I could open a day spa, which I didn't necessarily have to. I could have just opened a spa without knowing the skill set of the services that I was going to perform, but that's not me. I'm like, I really want to know, what does it take to perform this service? And so it really turned into, okay, well, how are we going to take this skill set and make sure that people actually earn money with it that's livable? There's no 401k for your hairstylist. There's no insurance plan for your hairstylist, specifically if she works for herself or him. If they work for themselves, it's not the typical corporate structure. And so what we did with our software is give people a roadmap to be able to say, hey, here's what I need to live my life from a financial perspective. How can I set my pricing accordingly to achieve that? How can I set my time to achieve that? And it's worked, it's been a beautiful answer to a lot of questions and needs that people have. So it's been pretty cool.
And I think it is very cool. And I think to me, like when I sit back and I think about this business, so I remember, my mother, I have a niece who's she's 12. I can't accept it, but she's 12. And at the time she had shared with my mom, she wanted to do hair. And my mom was like, hair? Like, why would you want to do, go to college? And so I was like, well, Mom, nowadays she could do lashes. I just started coming up. She was like, I said she could do braids. Yeah, but she said, but by this time you need to have a machine to know how to braid. Like that, she did say that. She was like, ain't nobody gonna be coming. I was like, Mom, they still gonna come. She was like, no, but what she was saying was how to build a business. Right. That's really what she was not a fan of. You're just the practitioner of the business. You're not the owner of the business. That's what she was alluding to. And I think when people sit back, I think that's the issue. Like, okay, that's my stylist. But the real thing is my stylist really making money? And so in my mom's mind, I was like, Mom, these stylists make a lot of money. Yeah, because they're all on, the internet. And, and I'm like, yeah, Mom, but and so I think when you think of it now, I think what you are building, and you tell me this, is that you're formalizing an ownership mentality. Right. Through some kind of, back office.
Yeah, because essentially, you can own your job, right? And a lot of entrepreneurs own a job, but they don't own a company. And there's very much a difference. You know what I mean?
Could you please elaborate on that?
So my aunts on my mother's side had a salon in Noble Square, actually. And I was the girl who walked to the store to get the candy for the clients, swept up and, collected a little check. I didn't do a shampoo, girl. I don't like hair, believe it or not. Like, you'll never see me as a hairstylist. Like, I always had long hair. I was like, no, I don't want to touch anybody's scalp. I love it. You got your own little ifs in the space, which is why I did skin, hair, skin, nails, and lashes. But when you think about performing this skill for other people, it is a valuable skill set that a lot of people, they're going to pay you because they don't know how to do it or they don't want to do it.
Correct.
Right? I know how to do my hair, but it takes me 5-6 hours when I could just go and pay a couple of dollars. Well, I won't say a couple. When I could pay
to
have somebody else doing it. No. Which is important. Oh my gosh, the pricing.
Yes.
That's another reason why we came up with the system. Because I'm like, you ask them, like, how did you come up with your pricing? And they're like, oh, well, such and such next door did it. And I was like, but are you making money doing that? It's the logical, for me, it's a logical versus an illogical question. Are you making money? Yes or no? Well, then why are you still, and if it's no, why are you still doing that, expecting to still actually make money? Like, something has to change. So when we work with stylists, it is really, one, let's be honest with who you are, where you are, and where you want to go. And if this is the medium that you plan on using to get there, let's make sure you're structuring it in a way to actually get there. So you can own a job, which is totally fine, right? That's paying you, you're maintaining. But when you have a company, you have other people that are now working with you or working for you. I like to say with, a team versus for. But we really want our customers to grow from solo entrepreneurs to being able to have a team, to being able to put other people to work, which will, ultimately stabilize the industry from a financial perspective, but even in a community, right? If you have a salon that's actually now paying taxes, that's going to help you because it's driving down your taxes that you have to pay. And if this person now has set their pricing at a rate that they're providing a wonderful service in a wonderful environment, the demand is going to start to grow. They're going to be able to start employing people. And that now brings the dollar into the community more. You can hire from the community. That'd be wonderful. If you don't, that's personal choice. But how have you now taken this skill set that you learned and allowed it to grow? And so our system, we grow with individuals in that way. But here's the other thing. Not everybody wants to have a big company.
Right.
And that's okay.
Right.
You know, we are zero judgment. If it's just you doing it, great, do you, but just do the best you can at it. Make sure those numbers, you know, hit how you need them to hit. But if you want to grow, we can do that with you as well. So,
do you consider Bisi Blvd your, and I'm saying this, your accountant, your bookkeeper, all in one, kind of?
No, I like to call it like the Swiss Army knife of, you know, it's a tool. I really wanted to set out making a digital tool that impacts a majority of the operations in a company. So we do personal and company budget. We do inventory control. We do CRM, and it's scheduling, and it's automation, right? The reports. So it's not necessarily like the accountant, but you can pull reports that you can take to your accountant. Okay.
Wow.
So we just help lay a roadmap of what you want to achieve, but then you do have to bring other people in to keep you accountable with that. But we will get you up and running and started, and making sure that as you are, you know, moving through your journey with your company, that it's growing with you accordingly.
And so, listeners, when you think about Bisi Blvd, right, I want to help you guys kind of walk you on a little bit of a journey. Is that literally you, and she's, you know, the business is all about solopreneurs, right? So solo, doing some kind of skill.
Right.
Beauty is an industry that they're passionate about, and I think there's necessary. But if your business is a therapy business, so one person, this could work. Or you provide some kind of Reiki, you know, that's another service that people are kind of, you know, on their own, or massage, you know. And so these are, you know, I think personal services.
True.
That you ultimately want to be able to have this back office dashboard. And for those that use POS systems, right?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, so we integrate with Stripe.
Okay. I like Stripe.
Yeah, we do too. It's very user friendly. We don't add an upcharge to it, right? So like when you get access to our platform, it's like one cost. That's it. We don't nickel and dime, and oh no, you got to pay for this level and this level. And I did that because I thought, I'm like, you know, when you go to a sale at a store and you buy a sweater on sale, you don't just get the sleeve. You know,
Ooh, that's good.
You get the whole sweater.
Yeah.
And so even though we started like with an intro price, you get access to the full platform.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
From a POS perspective, we integrate with Stripe.
Okay.
But we also integrate with payroll with Heartland. So you are able to pay yourself. Yeah. So you're not, even though you're working for yourself, if you eventually will go back into a workforce or whatever, maybe this is not your full-time passion, right? Well, full-time occupation and activity. You are not missing those Social Security credits, right?
Yeah.
So we have that integration for you as well.
Love it.
And we really do, I won't say we target creative specifically, but think any service-based, professional-based industry, they can use it. So we have right now in a beta a company that does events, and she has parties. She has a print and sip company. And so she uses it to schedule her events and her parties so people can go in and schedule there. We have consultants who do marketing consulting, and they are using our system as well. So we've been testing it in other industries.
And professional service industries. I love that.
Yeah, we have plumbers. That's going to be one of our. Oh yes, the plumber. Listen, you guys, it's a shortage of plumbers.
It is. I was going to say that it is a real shortage. Yeah.
But so now we have the tool ready. When the plumber comes out, we'll talk to the schools and hey, here's the tool that your plumber should be coming out using. So we're being very intentional about the industries we're going into. Nice. But yes, it is the ones that are more appointment-based, service-based. But we also have a version that is for agriculture. And so we help farmers with their farm planning for more profitability, even in their crops and harvests. So it's really just about how can you take a company that to the outside is like, oh, it's just that. Yeah. Right? Oh, you just a hairstylist. Yeah. Oh, you just this.
You're just a farmer.
We're not going to just anymore. Yeah. It's no, we are this. Yep. And if you didn't have access to your hairstylist, how would you feel? That's you know, if you didn't have access to actually quality produce, where are you getting that from?
That's right.
You're not going to eat your cat food.
That's right. That's right.
Or dog food.
Right.
But guess what's going in there? The produce coming out of these farms too. So we really I looked at it from a universal Swiss Army of what do companies need to actually operate when they don't have a team large enough to execute that. Yeah. But they know all the elements that they need. And so our software really steps in, fills in the gap for that.
You're listening to Black Businesses Matter, and we will continue our conversation in a second. But first, take a listen to this special message for our BBM fam.
We know how important it is to stay connected, so why not join our BBM Fam Club for special announcements and exclusive offers by texting BBM FAM to 312-300-1300. That's BBM FAM to 312-300-1300 today. Now let's get back to Black Businesses Matter.
So, one thing that I think that software that we don't recognize that software really does. So when I was listening to it, I was like, that's like QuickBooks, right? We have QuickBooks.
We heard that before.
Yeah, it feels very, but I also think QuickBooks only works if you work it.
You have to know financial.
You have to know a lot of that. Yeah. And so, we've learned that some things we are not using that we pay for. So now being more intentional with, we can use this, code it, those kinds of things. And I think a lot of us, I know for me, that's one of my level ups. So my goal for 2025 is to make QuickBooks work for us.
That's a good goal.
Like work for us. Versus we're just like, oh yeah, we're putting this in there. Or it's kind of like, we got QuickBooks. Yeah. No, it's working for us.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned this, Larvetta, because a lot of people, they try to fly by financials. Like at the front end of our software, you have to do a budget. You can't even, your account won't even function correctly if you don't address your budget first.
I love that.
That's your personal budget. That's your company budget. QuickBooks, while we respect it, we're trying to see actually if we can integrate QuickBooks in because they do report. And so when you think of QuickBooks, you're thinking about a financial management system of your overall company.
Yes.
Our system. And so this is like, if you owe, if you have loans, if you have, equipment or purchases like that, right? So like think major balance sheet, cash flow, profit. Our system doesn't give you that.
Got it.
We don't go into how are you managing your company in that financial arc. But in the day-to-day, is your inventory on time? Yep. So we tie our service menu to your inventory. So you generate an inventory list.
Yeah.
So we do more intricate day-to-days. I view QuickBooks as kind of like that month to month. That's how we use it with we use QuickBooks too. Yeah. But we use it for reconciliation because I don't do invoicing through that or anything like that. But when you think about how are you as a company owner managing your finances, that's a whole nother conversation. And a lot of people are afraid of it, which is really sad because I don't know anybody who started a company not to make money. But then you don't know how to count it.
But see, here's the thing, Noelle,
track it.
And I will say this. I say this also, I didn't go in business to make money. I go in business to serve.
Bless your heart.
I did. But let me say this. So here's my, but I think that there is a caveat to that, right? What are you? We are all service providers.
True.
So we think that this idea that to serve is to serve, to provide a service, to get, but you're not. But your first goal is to provide that service, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that hairstylist is providing a service.
But the service doesn't come for free, right? Like I can't go and say
service is free.
Nothing.
But that's what we have to get to a space to understand that services are not free.
And sadly, so don't get me wrong. Like even to get our software, we give our software free for the first 2 months. So we have a level of free access in that. But I absolutely agree with the servant leadership element of what is your skill set? What is the gift that you're bringing to the world? But I also live in this world, right, where I have to pay my mortgage.
Correct.
And if I'm constantly just taking my time, right? We talk time, value of money, and I'm now misallocating or misappropriating my time and not actually receiving a monetary compensation for it that will allow my life to continue on so that I can provide service to someone, it's a problem.
And so here's what I've learned, and I've learned this as I build down this season. What can we take out of 2025 is that there is a service fee for every service.
Absolutely.
And so what we have to understand that is we culturally have believed that services are free, and they're not.
No.
Literally every service that you do in the world, there's a service fee. You actually may not always see it because the gas says $4.80, but there's a service fee that's part of that $4.80.
A delivery fee, the transportation fee, the logistics fee, the filling the tank fee, right? Like they will fee.
So when you look at $4, that gas station isn't getting that $4.
True.
And so what was happened is that I think we have to look at it. So that service that's $300, you're thinking that $300 is going to Noelle. That $300 is going to, guess what? I got to pay taxes. I got to get an attorney. I got to do an HR manual. So for everything that happens,
right.
And then I'm going to get maybe $35 or $40 of that.
Right.
Which you do the math. You do 40 and you got 40,000 clients. That's what you want. Right. And so that's what we have to, I do think that we have, I always say this, we have miscommunicated service-based businesses.
So true. I love the fact that you're saying this. Yes. A lot of times people think, it's a service. Why are you charging? Like they'll question your fees.
Yep.
They'll question, it's a lot of questions of how do you achieve the fee that you are asking for your service. But to your point, well, if I'm running this as a company, and I'm talking to someone who understands business, and I'm air quoting business, then for me to have a blow dryer takes electricity, and electricity has to be paid to ComEd every single month. And if you're not paying enough and I haven't set my pricing enough, well, then I can't even run the blow dryer to let you walk out here with the beautiful coif that you want, right?
Correct.
So one is about, do people understand business? And unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs do not understand I won't even say business. It's not business. How to run a company in the business that they are in.
Correct. And I think
that's the thing.
I think it's education, right? I think that's what Bisi is giving you. Because when you have this software, you now, to me, have enough words to communicate why you charge this.
Yes.
I think we say, I'm just charging just because. But when you have a back office to say, and I can speak when I can say a back office, why? One, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to start with the experience, but then I'm also going to tell you my expenses. So when you run that, by the time we get here, honey, this is why this cost us. Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah. Oh, I wasn't sure. But I think that one of the things that we have to learn is that when we have this software and these tools, they cost.
Yes.
Right? So if it's $100 a month, right? And your services are $65, and I'm doing simple math, right? I'm gonna say $100, and you got to pay $100, right? For this, so one customer pays for the
software,
the software,
and we show you where to put our software fee into your budget. so you're not concerned about, can I afford this? You cannot afford it.
Yeah.
You know. Who else is coming and saying, hey, did you think about these 8 categories of your company? Yeah. Did you think about the fact that you have to go pick up your child? Did you think about, the fact that the majority of your customers might not start coming until after 6 o'clock in the evening? What does your schedule look like? And I love it. We've gamified it a little bit. Nice. So we give you like these check marks and these congratulations. Your book is, increasing. And, we definitely bring the excitement to what you're doing from a support perspective. I think a lot of people don't realize how repetitive business is.
Would you say that? It is so repetitive.
It's repetitive.
Every 2 weeks, you got to do this. Every 4 months, every month you got to.
Extremely repetitive.
It is.
But a lot of people will try to make it more complicated.
That's true.
Like, why are you complicating? Yeah. You said you want, and I'm not, I will never disrespect what someone feels is their gift or what someone's gift is to bring to the community, right? But where I struggle is to allow someone to sit and say, I need more money, but I don't want to charge somebody, right? I can't pay my bill. I'm spending all my time doing this service for somebody, but I need more money. Well, why are you afraid to ask for more money? Why are you afraid to put a price onto the service for what you're doing?
Fear.
It's a huge fear.
It's a huge, and I think, fear keeps us back from a number of things. I think to want to make more money, to ask for more money, to also ask for help. Yeah, so I think that's the other part of it. So I'm going to take this minute for people to. This is a brag moment. So you have this moment. We give people 3 minutes to just brag. What you got going on?
What am I bragging about?
You can brag about.
This is uncomfortable. I don't brag.
Yes. Well,
but I got some things in the works.
But that's what we found is that we don't brag.
No.
To your point, right? We serve in these businesses and we don't brag.
Yeah.
And so we have to get in this place to being like, let's brag and let people know what you got going on.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I wasn't expecting this.
That's okay.
Okay, so we if anyone's followed my journey, I have been very quiet in the background of what I've been doing, even to get here, right? Like people are like, Noelle, where you been? And it's funny because one of my employees, he was like, Miss Noelle, I know when you go quiet, you busy.
That's how I feel. I feel the same way, Noelle.
And I was like, oh, you know me quite well, sir. So we have been working on oh my gosh, our marketing for 2024/2025. I'm really excited about that. We started our nonprofit, which is really about financial literacy. But this fundraising, we started out, well, you don't know, but we started out with a $2 million fundraise for our software.
Nice.
And I'm not, how can I put it? I'm very much a proponent of self-funding. Okay, I've been very blessed to be able to self-fund the majority of the growth of the company. But we have just entered into some wonderful investment opportunities, which is going to close our fundraise round pretty soon. So I'm really excited about that. But we got some nice checks that have come in.
That's awesome.
Yes, I know.
Congratulations.
Which has actually allowed us to have larger, well, I would say heavier conversations with bigger contracts from financial institutions, even countries. So very excited about that. We are definitely, I have always been intentional about wanting a global growth strategy for my company. And that's very much so in motion. So
speaking on really that brag moment, we're asking people today, right? Like what's next in entrepreneurship and ownership for people that they need to know? And I love that you use the word global because we've talked about global a lot within this entire season. So I would love to on your side, like what's next? Like what do business owners, entrepreneurs really need to in this life of evolution? Like because there's an evolution. There's some things, right? There's things that are evolving that at one point didn't. And so we're seeing that. And so what can you give or tell people that they really should pay attention to?
So I would say if you are truly wanting to do entrepreneurship, you have to do it. A lot of people keep saying, oh yeah, I'm working on, I'm starting this, I'm thinking about, just stop and just activate it. You have to activate it. You need a realistic plan, but you do have to activate it. I was just listening to several news reports this morning, and they were talking about the cost of everything going up, right? This woman, the interview, she had an increase in her compensation. She was working in a factory. But if you look at it, the cost of everything is, inflation is real. Taxes are going up. You have to pay more for groceries. You have to pay more for transportation. You have to pay more for everything. If you are not paying attention, you will not be able to live your life without some external income coming in. And so if you are looking at it from an entrepreneurial perspective, you need to laser focus in on what you think that skill is that you have that you can monetize. You need to do as much research in your industry as possible and jump into it. Because you can keep looking at it from the outskirts, but until you are actually in it, you'll never know.
Yeah.
Even for us, when we started tech, I didn't come into tech the typical tech way. I was just like, oh, here's a problem. I got some money. I want to solve it. Let me jump in. And I jumped in and I accomplished so much that people were like, well, how are you able to do this? You don't have a tech background. You don't have, I don't have to have a tech background to understand that there's a problem and I can solve it.
And I think your advantage is the fact that you don't have a tech background because you're coming from the consumer and the user. And I think oftentimes, you know, software that I see that don't work for me is I can tell when it came from the tech. Internally, you didn't see what customers would need or the end user would need.
Yeah.
And so you failed. And that is a business that I will tell you that to me did a horrible job. That's a software is Yelp.
I got my own. I'm not gonna bash them. I don't appreciate their customer service approach.
But I will tell you, there was a bunch of tech people who built Yelp. There were not people who were non-tech because Yelp is something we all been doing for years. What do? Girl, that place is amazing. Girl, go. So we were already doing it. But the problem is you created this platform that ultimately became tech generated and that hurt the validity of it, which is why Google reviews is becoming the next big thing.
And it's interesting because it really was like, how do you trust this company you want to go into, right? And it's those, I'm going to trust a stranger's review of this company, and I'm going to get that trust from a platform. And all these people have gone in and said, I went there, I like that, or I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't even do that. I still will, if there's something I want to try, even if I see a review, I'm going to go try it.
Me too.
Personally.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the technology of running a company and moving things forward, you do have those platforms that come and go. Like when I had my day spa, we launched on Groupon, and Groupon did us amazing.
Yeah.
But there are stories of Groupon shutting down companies because the owners didn't know their numbers before they stepped into a Groupon deal.
Yeah. But again, I'll give you this example. Groupon to me was business centered, people centered. They were not. I think that's when my whole thing is that we have to recognize when tech companies build tech, you have to know who the end user is and the struggle, the pain point that they're going through you cannot make it tech. And I do think, to your point, which is why I just felt like Yelp became an epic fail because they really didn't have people working. They had tech companies working.
You know, it's...
And I'm only saying that
I appreciate that what you're saying. It's interesting perspective because I don't even use Yelp anymore. I don't use it anymore. To your point of like what comes and goes.
It becomes I know people. I remember salespeople who worked there. They did not care. They were like, just sell people. Just tell them that we can do. Like they had no
aggressive.
But it was a tech. That's a tech environment, and I think that's the thing that happens. And I think when you look at Google reviews, there's some things that Google has put in place. Like you really, you have to almost go. So they got a map on you to show you that you were there to be able to give that route. So they've somewhat are creating this space where you can't really badmouth if you've never really been there. So they've created a little bit more of a barrier there, and it's not costing us anything, right? It's not costing the customers. It's not costing anybody. With Yelp, it was that. So I say all that to say that was a big space in the software space that I think. And so when my point in really saying for Bisi Blvd is that you not having the tech background and hiring people that are, I think is the advantage.
Yeah, and I don't have I will say I don't have the tech background to what
The coding.
Most people, I can follow code. I can write some code enough to know that I couldn't write what I needed coded. When I was pregnant with my son, I was on bed rest, and I really was like, okay, this was coming out of the pandemic as well. Yeah. So I was able to take some classes and enough to see that the idea that I had that I wanted coded and put into the world, I could not execute.
Yeah.
But I did educate myself enough to know that, and yes, I have an amazing team. I have a team offshore and nearshore for our development. Okay. And it's continued to grow, and we're looking at actually bringing it totally in-house for development. Okay. But to your point about what does the future of entrepreneurship look like, the collaboration is real. One thing I can say out of seeing people's engagement post-pandemic is that a lot of people are more willing to work together than before.
Agreed.
And maybe it's just, but I mean, I've been around the world and I've seen
I think so.
Out of the pandemic, people are more like, oh, wait, what are you doing? Do you want to come together? Do you want to, how can we make this work together? Because
but it's also you. It's also you. Well, I mean, I love just people. Saying, I'm not saying that you're not, because I think that there's some truth to that, but I also think it's also your personality, and the abilities to really try to get this in the hands of people that that need it.
Yeah, and we go right to them. Yeah. I'm not waiting for you to come say, oh, Noelle, did you see? No. Hey, here, knock, knock. Yeah. Here you go. Yeah. You try our system. I'm shoving it down your throat. And I think, it is coming. Our marketing is coming hard and heavy.
I think that's the win. And so to be able to tell everybody how they can find out about Bisi Blvd.
Yes, we're on all the social platforms, but our main outlet is our website, bisiblvd.com.
Spell it.
BISIBLVD.com. And so Bisi, just so people know, it's funny because when I throw it in the AI, it thinks we're a real estate company.
I can see that.
And I'm like, no, we're not. I
love that it says that it's a real estate company.
Yeah. We
because you are building
again, here's the thing. We're a software development company.
Right.
So Bisi Blvd, we develop software. So we have it for the service base. We have it for the agriculture. I do have a real estate software platform that we're working on as well, which is hilarious. But I mean, it's software development company. We're not just a one-trick pony. And that's what I tell our investors. I tell our, customers. It's like, hey, no, I'm talking to you about this one. But if you have somebody who's doing that, you should send them over and they can check out this other level or other version. But Bisi is BISI, was just the phonetic spelling of busy, BUSY, because a lot of people don't want to do the math. They don't want to sit and do all these calculations. They're not running inventory. They're not, so I was like, we do the busy work for you, right? But I was talking to someone who was from Nigeria, and he said it actually translates in one of the dialects there, the place of wealth generation. Ooh. Which is amazing because our tagline is where profitable companies live. Yeah. And I had no clue that that's what it was. And people have asked me, like, are you going to change the name? Like, well, what does it mean? I'm like, never.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I mean, as a market, I knew where you were playing off of it, which I think is novel. Because when we think of this idea, what is the first thing we think? Girl, how you doing? Good. How's it? Girl, just busy. That's our favorite thing.
It's right in your everyday lexicon.
It's part of our dialect, right? Even from there, and so I think that it's powerful. Once again, go ahead.
Where can you find it? So yes, you can find that little derail. Yes. But our website, bisiblvd.com. You can on LinkedIn. I mean, we have our LinkedIn page. We have our Instagram page. It's either BISI.BLVD, but you'll see it. It's a $, a green slanted $. So yeah, we're on all of the platforms: Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Well, X. We even have Pinterest. Pinterest has been, but we're there.
You're there, and so. When I think about Noelle, what's next for Bisi Blvd?
World domination.
World domination.
No. We are 100%. So with our most recent investors, we've been able to launch our campaign on a larger scale from a marketing perspective. So you will see a lot of ads coming out from us. We have all these partnerships with schools. So we have partnerships with a lot of the beauty colleges in the Chicagoland area, but we are looking at national exposure there.
Okay.
So we're actively reaching out to educators and creating those relationships. So that's our primary focus right now. Is like we are driving into the market so that there's more awareness. But with that, we're creating events. So we've been working in collaboration with Lily and Augusta Beauty, which is a plant-based braid and hair here in Chicago. And we have what's called the Beauty Business in a Box.
Nice.
It's actually pretty nice. We started it with relationship with BMO, the bank, going into their branches and supporting their customers who are in the beauty space. And so those boxes we're now taking to the streets, if you will, and getting them into our school hands and those individuals that are graduating. We have those that are available even if you are an established entrepreneur or have your salon open and you're looking to change your system. You can order the box and it gives you the software, a sample of her hair, and you then get access to the community so we can help integrate you into all of our offerings and things that we have. So our marketing is going to be first and foremost. That's what you're going to see coming. And then in 2025, quarter one, really excited about this. So there's a movie. There's a movie documentary, Show Her the Money. So we are going to be doing a screening of that, and that's targeting. It's about women who have been underfunded in this whole fundraising campaign. And it's fundraising is a whole nother world.
It is.
That's separate from building your company.
Yeah, agreed.
And so we'll be hosting a viewing of that. And I actually just got pegged to be on a conference with the director, the producer, Catherine Gray, in California in March. So,
nice.
So I'm already in, quarter two, 2025 activity.
I love it.
Thank you. I'm so grateful and so excited, even, being able to come and have the opportunity, right?
To tell the whole story.
Yeah, I've been very, very quiet.
I know. And quiet I love that. I feel you on that because, a lot of times people say, Larvetta, you don't post a lot because this is my baby. Like the podcast is my baby. And that's merely, but I have to set boundaries because I gotta do other things that that's there. And so, but one thing that I tell people when they figure it out, they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea you've interviewed all these people. And I said, even I am amazed at all the people, but it also, to me, it keeps me knowing that it's a lot of us. And that's the beauty of it. Like I don't live in a lonely world anymore.
No.
Like I live in this world that it's a bunch of us. So when people say, oh, I know this person, let me connect you. That's what I do.
Yes.
But that's what let me connect you. You know what? Check out this episode. She talked about, so getting people to really connect in such a way that they have it. I always say it's not the business card anymore. It's the storytelling that you get to share.
Which is interesting because Lord knows you can ask my children. They're like, Mom, tell me a story. And I'm like, That's one of the reasons why I'm quiet. I really, the art and the narrative of telling the story is still a work in progress for me. But it was interesting. I had a conversation a few weeks ago with Melissa Bradley, who's the founder of 1863 Ventures. And she was actually like, their company was the first non-dilutive cash into our software. And she was like, yeah, but where are you now? Because that was 2 years ago. And I said, well, we didn't want to put anything out until we knew that it really would work. And she said, you launched with integrity.
Yes.
I said 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Because this really is kind of like a hit or miss opportunity. Yeah. And it's not like 100%, right? That's just foolish
100%.
to think. Yeah. But we launched where everything we promised about our software delivers. We still have continual process improvements. But it's here.
Yeah. And that's, again, for someone who has worked for some of these tech startups that don't exist anymore, which is why I stayed away from it, because it was a very top heavy in the way that they communicate and the way, the way they saw market. It was a lot. And so it's that, but I'm loving that there's more color in the tech space.
Yes, indeed.
There's more women in the tech space. So I love that. And so as we wrap up to talk about this, we always ask this question, why do Black businesses matter?
we matter because we have voice and we have a perspective. I was just talking about this with my family. We are more creative than the world knows, and oftentimes even than we know ourselves.
I agree.
And if we are not confident enough to put that out there, we will lose so much.
Yeah.
Our impact on this world, not just the U.S. community, on globally, our impact is undeniable.
Yeah.
And so we matter because we are here and we are part of the true fabric of the world.
Yeah.
You will never go, you can go anywhere and you will find a person of color.
Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah. And we're not going nowhere.
We're not going anywhere.
We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. So much do you know, not go, but you know, you're afraid of even us being in the, we intimidate.
I know.
But we are also very safe.
Yes.
That's
true.
I mean, I can make you feel very safe.
Yeah.
But I can also be very vicious if you cross me the wrong way. But that's necessary in business too.
It is. You have to be a little shrewd in your business.
Have to,
you definitely have to. And I think that's. But again, I think when we talk about, I love that this whole thing of wealth creation and understanding that, you know, what this business is doing is creating, because I started this episode talking about largest employers of Black business or Black people.
Yes.
So when you think about a platform that, you know, fosters an industry that, and oftentimes they were not really paid attention. Like if you didn't go to a college, like, oh, you in beauty school? What's that? Right.
And the sad thing, a lot of people don't realize, I mean, there's rationale behind that, but like the average educational level of beauty service providers is high school. Yeah. That's starting to shift now, given how the economy is going, and like the layoffs and all that. So like you see people who have been really established in careers saying, you know what, I want to take my shot over here. Correct. And so you starting to see a competition even within the industry of a more educated company owner versus a less educated company owner. And even within our software, we looked at level the playing field, right? Because at the end of the day, you can be a different age, but still have had experience and understanding. But where is that common ground? We like our platform to be the common ground.
And I think I'm glad that you have that level of data, because a friend of mine worked in corporate and opened up a cafe. I mean, people are like, but why? It's like, I can grow. I got me a backyard. I can grow some of this stuff, and I can sell it out of my cafe. Like,
it's the self-control. It's the being able to own.
Yeah.
That's, you want to talk about where is entrepreneurship going and where is life going in general. You think that some of these government initiatives and things are here to truly sustain you on a permanent basis, I hate to say, you're being a little naive.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah. The companies that are laying off and the rate at which they're laying off, you now see this influx of entrepreneurship because they have a skill.
Correct.
Some companies are not rehiring. Correct. There's this whole, what's the economy going to look like? Well, the economy is about to start. It always has its own little underlying economy that's happening. And if you are looking to be financially stable, you got to own that.
Yeah, I agree. You guys, Noelle, Bisi Blvd.
Thank
she
you.
was incredible. One last question that we asked: what brings you joy?
Oh, my family.
She has her daughter in the studio.
You see
all.
My look. I know.
She's so precious.
This is why I do what I do. My family brings me so much joy. I was telling a family member this morning, I want them to be able to travel and experience the world. It was in my 20s when I actually left the country, but I don't want that for my children. Yeah. You know, I want them to be able to experience life on a grander scale from an educational perspective and just exposure. Yeah. But then also helping other people. Yeah. I mean, it brings me so much joy. I know we were talking, I was like, you get your money while you're doing this service, but I love to see people's light bulb moments. Yeah. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's it. I'm like, yes, honey, that's it.
Yeah.
And it was always with you you know, you just needed somebody to kind of like pull it out. Yeah.
So, and I'm your tool to do that.
Yeah. So my family and my community, it definitely brings me joy. And when I say community, I'm talking entrepreneurial community.
Yeah. I love that you say that, because I've also said that community, we have limited community. Community could be doesn't have to be proximity. It could be based on the community that you feel safe.
Yes.
Whatever that safety is for you. I'm excited, Noelle. I'm excited about Bisi Blvd.
Thank you, Larvetta.
I've learned a lot today about it, which I think is just dynamite, that you really are a disruptor. And I've learned that disruptor does not mean a bad thing. It just means that how do you see things, like being able to see things in a different way. And I've always said we have to be okay that most of us have a disruptor mentality. We just don't know it. And how do you do it to monetize it?
Yeah, right? It's just asking questions for me. I'm like, I'm gonna disrupt your thought. What made you do that?
Right. What made you? It's the questions.
What were you
it's the curiosity of the disruption. I agree.
Help me understand.
I agree. You guys, there you have it. We have a software company, Bisi Blvd, in Chicago. They started here in Chicago. Of course, we have listeners all over the world, but I think it's also important to let people know that we have tech founders that are outside of Chicago, because sometimes you believe that doesn't exist within the proximity of Illinois. And so to know that we have this, and we have it, and we have a founder that wants you to create wealth through your business, that the software is just one of the many things that it does, but just to be able to make sure that you have the technology. And obviously, you know, the real estate is working for you, because I think another thing is, I thought of it like that, is that the real estate is working for you wherever you're doing your business. If it's working for you and making you money, then that's it. So guys, thank you all for just rocking with us. This season is really special. I'm learning so much from some of our business owners and entrepreneurs and thinkers and visionaries. They really are leaving us with some things that we all need to take into account as we evolve in this business, with the, you know, state of climate changing, the state of political administration changing, the state of health, right, is another thing, and health disparity around that. So we really got to get clear about how we do business, because all of that impacts our wealth. So thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. See you next week.
I truly enjoy hearing Noelle speak about Bisi Blvd. You can truly feel the passion and thoughtfulness she poured into her business. She really thought of so many aspects to aid entrepreneurs as their businesses grow and evolve. Her platform, which she dubbed the Operation Swiss Army Knife, is truly something every service-based business needs on their tool belt. Specifically, I think this brand is perfect for businesses in beauty. I could really think of so many service providers in my beauty community alone that could benefit from Bisi Blvd to stop stressing about the operations and really focus on the art, whether that be hair, braiding, nails, whatever it may be. Take a moment and reflect. What do you envision your business being in the future? What tools and strategies do you need to make that vision a reality? It just might be Bisi Blvd. Be sure to check out the show notes to learn more about Noelle and transform your business this 2025. Join our community by texting BBM MAG to 312-300-1300 and stay connected. Thank you for joining us.
The Black Businesses Matter podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer, marketing, and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. Follow us on Instagram at Black Businesses Matter.